You're now listening to the sound of sanity. This sound will continue for the duration of the program. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sound of Sanity. I am Nathan. I am your humble and obedient host. We've got Ben. He is the preacher who's a teacher of sanity. He's right there.
I'm right here.
Hey, Ben.
Hey.
Introduce the other guy.
Nathan.
The most important guy.
Him. Definitely. The most important guy. Jacob Menzel, pastor who's a master of sanity.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Jake.
Hey.
Well, guys, I'll tell you what's making me feel insane.
What's that?
The reviews have hit for the so gracefully titled Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Someone pointed out they repeat 3 words in that sentence, in that title. But I don't know, it must work well for search engine optimization or something like that. Anyway, Lord of the Rings is a property that I enjoy and have read the novel several times.
Because you're a dork?
The novel, The Lord of the Rings?
I have read the novel, The Lord of the Rings, yes, sir.
Cool.
You think you got me, but Tolkien would agree with the fact that it's a novel. We just couldn't publish it as one big thing because we lacked the technology. I'm sure, but they can do it now.
Gentlemen, we have the technology. We can republish it.
Cut down some more of Tolkien's beloved trees.
Rip them all down.
Peter Jackson, you lovable hack. The trees, what does the orc say? Like,
the trees are strong, my lord.
That's his report.
Rip them all down. Oh, dear.
Sorman was just waiting, to get his report. Like, how are the trees? Are they strong? Are they weak? What's going on?
They are strong.
I like to think if we cut to that scene a little bit earlier, the guy would be like, if we consult graph B, we'll see the oak trees. In any case, you guys like the Lord of the Rings, the novels, the movies,
Love the novels.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we all love Lord of the Rings. And Amazon is spending something like $500 million on a Lord of the Rings series. It is spending, what am I trying to say? They're spending the most amount of money that has ever been spent on a show to bring us a really cool age of Lord of the Rings, like not the boring, stupid third age, and certainly not the man-centered fourth age, but the second age, I believe this is. Apparently the show starts with the defeat of Morgoth, or whatever that guy's name is. Yeah. But his lieutenant, Sauron, escapes. But, he's probably still out there. Morgoth, sorry. Yep. I'm sorry. I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd. I'm actually not a larger extended universe of Tolkien nerd. I could never make it through the Silmarillion because it's boring. But I like the appendices, and I'm sure the Silmarillion has a lot of cool stuff.
Silmarillion, my friend.
Silmarillion. The Simmels.
The Simmels. Yeah. That's what I said.
I remember it starts with some kind of creation story where it's like, Ag began singing the music of joy, and then Balthazar introduced a discordant note into the music of joy.
I always loved that. Well, I say always. I read it once as a kid, and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
From the womb.
Ben
Ben was like, Simmel. Listen, folks, we like Lord of the Rings. My point is, Amazon's sinking $500 million into a very pretty looking Lord of the Rings adaptation of the appendices. It's going to have Sauron and rings and stuff. And I guess I've talked about this a little bit on the show before, but it is something that genuinely makes me feel crazy because I have no desire to watch this show. Like, at all. I'm not even, it's not like, oh, I'd watch that if I wasn't a Christian and could watch bad. It's like, no, I'm not interested at all in watching the new Lord of the Rings thing. And that's really sad to me and makes me feel crazy. And of course, the reason I have no interest in watching it is, well, maybe I should ask you guys, do you guys have any interest in watching this thing whatsoever? Zero?
No.
Even the pretty trailers with the sun dappled off the city of kings and a lot of money on the screen.
Yep.
And I don't know. I guess we're just all a bunch of misogynists. It's like a Galadriel warrior princess story. I mean, that's basically what the trailers are telling us. I've read some reviews now. So basically the thing is like Galadriel was one of the great commanders that stood up against Morgor.
Yeah, I like it.
Against Morgoth and lost many brave men and women and children and trans and whoever else was fighting for her. And then Sauron, the dastardly,
like the lieutenant of Morgoth or something.
Lieutenant of Morgoth escaped. And everyone's like, yay, we're idiots. Morgoth is dead. Yay. And Galadriel's like, he is still out there. And he killed all my friends. And I must be a battered warrior princess. And I must figure out the riddle of Sauron. And that's basically the story.
Oh.
And meanwhile,
see, I didn't even get far enough to know that it centered on Galadriel.
Yeah, no. Galadriel's like the warrior princess, and meanwhile, there's like some Hobbit girl, and the Hobbit girl's like, actually, she's a Harfoot, technically. I got this from a review early this morning, and she's like, I wish I could go on an adventure. It seems like the world's a really exciting place. And the Hobbits are like, the world's boring and stupid. You should play in your garden or something. And she's like, ah. And then she gets swept in. And meanwhile, there's an elf warrior that's in love with a mortal man or something.
And there's a dwarf king. Actually, the dwarf king is like, oh, it's a dwarf king. Okay.
Yeah.
That fits.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Well, so it actually comes out tomorrow for the general viewerships, but critics have been reviewing it. And IMDb won't show you a rating yet, but Amazon Prime shows an IMDb rating of 5.8 so far on its site. For some reason.
So a bunch of like Proud Boys drove the numbers down because they were like, a woman is in this. That's probably what happened.
I don't know. Probably so. Jerks. That'll be the story, at least.
That will be the story.
Apparently one reviewer I read was saying that you have a lot of elves sitting talking politics in front of green screens in the first couple episodes. Right. Which, this is my idea of a good time.
I enjoyed it well enough when elves sat in front of green screens and discussed politics in the Jackson movies, I suppose. But actually,
I make a dismissive noise.
In The Hobbit, what's the first Hobbit movie called?
An Unexpected Journey?
The Unexpected Journey. There's a part where they're in Rivendell and they're all discussing politics in front of a green screen. And I saw it in 60 frames per second. You remember Peter Jackson was doing that thing?
Mm-hmm.
And Rivendell was really cool. It was really fun. It's like, oh, that waterfall just looks like a real waterfall in 60 frames per second. So
that's cool.
I actually really enjoyed the elves, probably more than anything else in the movie. I enjoyed the elves sitting in front of a green screen talking because it's just like, Rivendell's really cool. And it's got all these balconies that are super OSHA would be very upset about because they're over these ravines and they don't have any railing, but
sounds great.
It sure looks like it would be a fun place to have a boring conversation about Middle-earthian politics. So I don't know. They're making this thing. It looks all feminist. It doesn't look like anything that Professor Tolkien would be excited about at all. And I feel crazy. I just want them to make a Lord of the Rings that I would like.
Or just leave it alone and
do something else.
Do something else that's original and fun and cool, like instead of bastardizing 100-year-old content.
Yeah, that'd be good too. But I don't mind. I don't mind IP theft if you can do something fun with it. I don't. I mean, yeah, of course, I wish that they made original properties, but I would be here for a good Lord of the Rings show. I mean, I think it would be fun. I think it'd be fun to see somebody tell a cool story set in that world.
Oh yeah,
especially when we talked about this for the bookending. My solution to this was as soon as they get done with the Lord of the Rings or with Harry Potter, they should just turn around and do it again with a whole new cast and just do it enough times that we get 6 different versions of somebody's take on Rivendell.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 19,000 Hamlets and Draculas and everything else.
People just ought to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose given enough time, they will.
I guess so. But I mean, they've done it with, I guess, Batman and Spider-Man, but they should do it it would be better if they did that sort of thing with these properties than try to build out the
Well, especially because they are essentially telling the same stories. I mean, in this case, they're annoyingly gender swapping everything, but they are actually having a hobbit that gets drawn into an adventure and a warrior that's on the outskirts of protecting civilization, even though nobody respects her in this case. But ignoring for a second the gender swapping, which you shouldn't, but ignoring it for a second, they actually are telling the same story. They're just swapping out some names and some circumstances and scrambling things around a little bit.
That's right.
And so if somebody has an actual new story, like what would this kind of character be like in the Lord of the Rings world? I'm all for that. But yes, just scrambling around some pieces of the puzzle to make a slightly different image is lame. So everything's terrible.
Agree.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Angel Studios, Nathan? Ever heard of it? The Chosen, Nathan? Original content, Nathan?
All right, guys. Here's my question. Maybe I should not take any of this seriously, and I should just eat my popcorn and enjoy this Lord of the Rings thing. My reasoning being thusly. That was bad grammar.
I liked it, though.
This show is a paragon of grammar excellence.
Yes, this show are the paragon. I don't even know how to construct a bad grammar sentence of that. Here's my question. Maybe I should just eat my popcorn. The reason being not that I don't care about the encroachment of feminism or any of that, but the reason being that I am in my late 30s, going into my 40s soon enough, and I have a wife. And she's a feminine woman. And you know what? Galadriel being a ridiculous battle babe and all this kind of stuff, it just actually doesn't need to rise to the level. It's stupid, but who cares? It doesn't rise to the level of to be irritated by it and to be like, I'm not going to watch it, is actually to dignify it too much. I don't know if there's anything compelling about this argument that's even worth dealing with, but
it's not even a matter of hostile. Even if you take away the hostile reaction, you're left with the boredom of being of like a woman not being a woman and trying to be a man. And I, as a man, I'm like really bored by that. Like, no, you're a woman and you're boring for women to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I guess what I'm trying to sort of articulate is the fact that I do see people out there who get so worked up about this that it does seem like they're just insecure in their like you can actually be exactly. I can actually be secure enough in my manhood that I'm not threatened by some little girl pretending to. Then
you can be honest about not being interested.
Yeah.
Right. But which is, I think, where we're all actually at. We're not actually, I hate it. That's not us, because I just don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe it's us because we're doing an episode about it.
I'll cop the feeling sharp pangs of hatred at times, Jake, but
related to this stuff.
Related to this stuff.
I feel hatred because it's boring, though. Like, I'm like, come on, like, give me a character that I could care about.
I just, there are a couple properties out there that have a purity to them that is hard to match, and Tolkien is one of those. And if I feel any hatred or anger or whatever, it's because, man, just do a Game of Thrones ripoff or something like that. Like, do the ripoff of Tolkien. Don't just
lots of high fantasy for you to adapt out there. That's much more woke.
Yeah, it lends itself to this sort of thing. Why take Tolkien himself and do that sort of thing? But yeah, I mean, you're really talking about people that just haven't really worked through this stuff for themselves on any kind of deeper level. I don't know what else to say about it. It does betray an insecurity.
I will say the real insecurity that I feel as a man with one daughter and another one on the way is that I'm fairly convinced that it's not going to be intuitive to them that girls can't beat up boys. Like they're actually going to have an aha moment at some point in their life. If I do things right, they will have an aha moment where they're like, oh, I guess girls can't beat up boys. But they won't assume that, because that's just not built into our media. And it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's like many things. I mean, it's no different than fornication is good being built into our media, or any number of lies that our media tells us. But it is insane that something so biological and basic is just been so thoroughly propagandized that if I'm not careful, if we just watch our share of Marvel and Star Wars and things like, which maybe we won't, I don't know. My kids haven't gotten old enough for that to be a decision. But if we just watch the normal things that people watch, then we'll actually have to have conversations about these things. And that's very strange to me, to wake up and be living in that world, because that's not actually the world that we grew up in. I mean, we had feminism, but as we've talked about before, you always knew that's what it was. Like, oh, this is the brash feminist character in The Thing who's proving that she's can do something that the men can do. But the fact that it's just kind of coded in there now is weird.
So the physicality, that sort of thing, that is not, to me, with my daughters, the threat. And maybe that's because, I don't know, my daughters play sports and they have brothers, and there's just not a question who can do more. And they see the difference with, like, they go out on the soccer field with their girls and they see the boys across who are the same age, and they know, and there's no real question. Like, they go out and shoot hoops or whatever, and boys the same age at recess, they know they can't play with the boys. Like, they know. And even if, like, okay, Lucy's really great and there are boys that she can take at recess in soccer, that's because she knows that because she goes to the W Christian school. And so there's that. What makes me crazy is, like, much more the, like, constant stream of who is Sacagawea, who is Amelia Earhart, who is that they get force fed at their school of, like, here are the 5 examples of women who've done amazing things in history, and that means you can do all those things too. You can be a great CEO and a great pilot and a great whatever, that take that obvious physical element out of the equation for them and becomes much more hard to deal with because it's that much more subversive. And it's sold as inspiration and empowerment in a way that I think gets past some of those natural, like, if it were just the physicality of it, nature's right there being like, no, actually go out on the basketball court with the boys at recess and see what happens. In the case even of our private Christian school, an educational system that is oriented to girls anyway. Right. And so, and maybe that's where it can tie in with what you were going to say, because everything is so feminine in orientation, where the school system accommodates a feminine orientation and is feminizing, and in such a way that it takes so much away from the boys and works so hard to empower the girls, that it's all part of a different ecosystem. That, yeah, I think that then giving the girls the hero's journey story completely plays into, even if it's only flights of fancy. If it's a fantasy world that she can step in and out of.
On the side of physicality, it does change. To have all the propaganda about women warriors does change what guys want and how they see themselves in relation to women, which I've said before in various forms. Maybe more on Sanity at the movies, talking about Wonder Woman and stuff like that, and Black Widow beating the tar out of men.
Well, what it does is just reinforce the idea that a woman can be one of the boys and also a sex buddy. Right. Yeah. And so it takes the danger, it takes everything that's actually glorious and beautiful and exciting and thrilling about a real relationship with a real woman, and brings it down to the level of making it all really gay, making it all sort of homo or autoerotic, in that sense of, well, look, you could have a woman that's really made in your image, that is not foreign, that is not different. That is everything that you want in a pal, who actually take it a step farther, and actually she can be your mom and also your protector and provider. And
yeah, what I think it actually inculcates is passivity. I mean, that's the thing that, if that gets at the heart of what I actually hate about this Lord of the Rings show, without having watched a frame of it, but just from what I've heard and seen in the trailers, is little boys actually need stories of here's a hero, here's what he does. He goes out and he beats the bad guy, and they're not getting them because that character is not written into the show. Galadriel is written as that character.
Well, it's
now.
it's just the next step, right? Like, and we've talked about this in talking about Marvel movies. The first thing they have to do is take away the prize, right?
Mm-hmm.
So first, the motivation, the reason why the guy goes out and fights the dragon is to get the girl. We got to take away the girl because she's not just some prize to be won, as Jasmine let us know back in the 90s.
Not a prize to be won.
Actually, you are. We just said that you weren't, but you still are. And the movie tells us that you still are. But now we're to the place where now we actually have to live up to that and take away the prize. So all the Marvel movies then just become found family movies where nobody's fighting for the girl or an actual family, right? And then the next stage is to just gender swap everything and turn it into feminist trans
which is
stories.
Just that's what I mourn. I want to be. I don't have a son, but I would, if God gives me one, I would love to be able to. I mean, I know it sounds kind of silly and low bar, but I'd like to be able to sit down and watch a Lord of the Rings show where he'll be like, "Yay, I could be like Aragorn,"
but even still, and show it to your daughter and be like, "Hey, Aragorn's the kind of dude that you should hope for."
And Aragorn's going to be fighting for you. So what are you going to be like? What are you going to be worth fighting for? And are you going to have strength in the way that, I mean, Tolkien's nothing if not a guy who loves strong women. He's almost kind of a weirdo about it. We don't have to litigate Tolkien today, but Tolkien has one type, and it's like this queenly kind of...
And Rosie.
Yeah, well, he's got Rosie, but he doesn't care about... I mean, Rosie really is just the girl.
Yeah,
like,
right.
We're not going to spend any time on her.
No.
What we're going to do is we're going to encounter Galadriel and Goldberry. He likes chicks whose names start with G, and...
Eowyn.
And
E.
And they're...
Arwen. And A.
Yeah, but he doesn't spend any time on Arwen.
No.
Really, the girls that get all the lines are...
Peter Jackson does, though.
Yes, he sure does.
Oh, boy.
And he has such a great take on feminine. But really, you got Goldberry, you got Galadriel, and you got Eowyn. And Eowyn is this character who does want to behave like a man, but it's because she's completely broken. And, she needs to have her heart tamed by, what's his face? Faramir, the gentle heart tamer, him. But then you've got these other ladies who are queenly and regal and kind of sorceress. I mean, they have a lot of power. It's just Tolkien's conception of feminine power.
Yep.
And they don't have to be a man or remove the active element from a man's hero's journey in order. Like Galadriel understands her job is to be a healer, to be a psychological force, to be all kinds of things. I don't even know how you describe exactly what she is. And I don't know that Tolkien actually has a very healthy conception of what she is, which is maybe what I'm dancing around or not dancing around so much. But you can listen to our Bookening Tolkien episodes to hear us go back and forth about that. My only real point in bringing it up, though, is that our stories should be grappling with what it is to actually be a woman. And there's all kinds of strong, interesting, compelling stories you can tell about real women. I mean, it's a thing we always say about Jane Austen, Emma, and what's her face, the most famous Jane Austen heroine, the most famous heroine in all of literature, Elizabeth Bennet. Elizabeth Bennet is a strong woman. She really is, and she should be. And she's punished for certain things or disciplined for certain things in the course of the story, but it's not for being strong. It's just for having pride and or prejudice, whichever one she has. Prejudice, I guess. But you can write a story about a strong woman. It just has to be a strong woman, not a strong... And we should be wanting to show our daughters stories about strong women. We just don't need to show them stories about strong women that are masquerading as men, that are doing men things. And we certainly don't need to be stripping the hero's journey and any kind of active masculine role away from our sons and our stories.
We want representation, baby.
And that's why I think I'm relatively unbothered by something like Trinity and the Matrix, as debauched as the Matrix is in so many ways. But that style of feminism where it's like the story is actually still that she's the princess to be one. She just has to dress in leather and be androgynous and kick people along the way because that's where it's telling a cyberpunk thriller. And it's stupid and it's silly and it's debauched. But in its bones, it is
Neo's the dude. He's the avatar.
Right.
It's his journey.
Right. And if I ever watched that with my little boy, I mean, he would understand and connect to the basic sense of, oh, I need to be like Neo. I need to understand what my destiny is. I need to go out and conquer the bad guy and achieve self-control over my demons and learn to jump across buildings. And then he'd throw himself off a building and die. So I won't show him the Matrix. But Lord of the Rings ain't doing that.
I mean, look, even in board games, there's a board game I saw where it's like, oh, the knight. You can play as the knight. Who's the knight? The knight is a cute girl in armor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to play this board game. I don't want my kids to play a board game. I mean, even that stuff. It's just like ubiquitous. Everything you touch is going to...
Well, the board game world and the comic book world both are just a step ahead, actually, and have been for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's true. Well, and all you have to do is go into a comic book store or a board game store, not a mainstream one, but a local one. You know, don't go to the Game Preserve, but go to, you know, an actual place where a bunch of nerds are playing board games and have comic books and stuff like that. And I like board games, I like comic books, all that, but you will see the passivity, the debauchery, the
cutting edge of debauchery in comic books,
the smell of weed, of drugs, of despair. I mean, those are just miserable. Sometimes I go into those places because I am a nerd and I do enjoy many of those things. And oftentimes they have things that I want to buy or want to browse. But Meredith is always, my wife is always sad if she has to go into one of those places with me because she just feels the oppression of like, and I feel the oppression too. And I feel thankful to God that I didn't go down that path or that I didn't go far down, that I didn't end up on that path. I did take steps on that path. But it's just like, oh man, these people are wasting their lives. And of course they want stories about girls doing all the hero's journey stuff because they don't want to be reminded that they should be on their own hero's journey instead of playing a board game in this den of iniquity. So, all right. Anything else to say about Lord of the Rings, Rings, the Rings of Power, Dawn of Justice?
Nope.
All right. Well, I have one other thing to say, which is go to patreon.com/Sound of Sanity, the Rings of Power. Can the Rings of Power be the new Dawn of Justice? No, Dawn of Justice is still the ultimate terrible
That's right.
subtitle.
That's right.
Or whatever you call them. What do you call like the aliens, Covenant? What do you call the Covenant? Is there a word for what that is? Avengers.
Requiem.
Endgame. Requiem, yeah.
Like, a word for what that is?
Yeah, it's part of the title, but it's like the main title is Avengers, but then is it just the subtitle?
No, it's not quite, is it? Because it's still the title. It's not, well, I don't know. I liked it back when they did Ghostbusters 2 instead of Ghostbusters, Afterlife. I think we should have part 2 and part 3s come make a return.
Guess who's doing it?
Who's doing it? Tom Cruise?
That's right.
He's going to do Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, part 1, and then
Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, part 2. That's right.
It's still one too many colons, in my opinion. Like some kind of Lovecraftian beast. One too many colons.
Is that right?
Yeah, you know, it was like, there's got to be something on the joke shelf here. Here we go. This is old.
Let's keep playing with colons.
Let's keep playing with colons. Like a surgeon, like kids at a surgeon school. Let's keep playing with colons. Go to patreon.com/Sound of Sanity to support this podcast and be part of our Discord. It's a lot of fun there. And see videos of behind the scenes stuff that me and Ben do, all kinds of stuff, fun stuff. And I think that's all we have to say. So until next time,
stay sane.